Springfield's Talk 1041. Good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. Hope you had a great weekend. It's going to be a hot week. Looking for highs in the upper 80s, lower 90s, heat index getting close to 100. A look at the first alert forecast coming up from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt in just a few moments. Well, it was announced, to the shock of absolutely no one, that the Department of Justice will not prosecute U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland for contempt. Apparently, some of us are above the law. I think they're talking about immunity, something along those lines. This, of course, the same administration that is taking Trump to court, claiming that there is no such thing as immunity when it comes to people in the executive branch, but for apparently someone like Merrick Garland. Of course, the House voted Wednesday of last week to hold Garland in contempt of Congress for refusing to turn over audio of Biden's interview with special counsel Robert Hur. The assistant attorney general, Carlos Felipe Urate, told Speaker Johnson in a letter, quote, consistent with this long-standing position and uniform practice, the department has determined that the responses by Attorney General Garland to the subpoenas issued by the committee did not constitute a crime, and according to the department, will not bring the congressional contempt citation before a grand jury or take any other action to prosecute the Attorney General. The assistant noted that the DOJ provided lawmakers with the report and any additional redaction. This, of course, is the point of contention where they admitted that they edited the transcript, claiming that they just took out the filler words, the ums and the ahs, which, depending on to what degree they exist, could, of course, be the further evidence that the American people already recognize of a president and a human being who is in such serious decline that he rarely is able to make any sort of appearance without it turning into a viral video at this point. And you get the Democrats, of course, they are claiming the only reason that Republicans even want this out there is to embarrass the president. Well, why would this embarrass him? I mean, we are told that this would be behind closed doors, and it's behind closed doors that the amazing Superman version of Joe Biden exists. It's behind closed doors that he runs circles around other world leaders. Intellectually, it's behind closed doors that he is so physically active, even young staffers have a difficult time keeping up with him. You would think that they would want his mental gymnastics on full display, yet for some reason, they want him hidden. And we all know the game. I mean, this is the absurd nature of all of this, is we know, we know. Yet they still pretend as if, he's the sharpest guy that's out there. There's a story about the White House is quite upset, understandably so, at all of these viral videos that are going on out there. And there's this full court press attempt to dismiss it as something that is made up by so-called right-wing media, not because of what we all see before our very eyes. And so you have all of that as justification for not charging him. This is the catch-22 scenario that the Biden administration has found itself in. It isn't the Department of Justice or the special counsel, rather, not, of course, recommending that he be prosecuted because he is a feeble-minded old man. And the rationalization was because of how he comes across, because of the way that he speaks, the way that he looks, the way that he gets confused, it would be a waste of time because no jury would ever find him guilty because he's such a feeble-minded individual with cognitive issues. Well, if that is the rationale and justification, then that evidence, I think it's only logical to state that all that evidence should be put before the American people. One of the arguments that this administration or those who are supporting it continue to make in its justification for trying to get these trials of Trump underway before the election was that way the American people can have all of the information. That's part of the justification. The American people deserve to have all of this information put out there. The American people deserve to hear what evidence exists against Donald Trump. Yet, as usual, the opposite is the case with Joe Biden. That evidence, that information needs to be hidden from us. And, of course, his right-hand guy, his ally, the sword and shield of the Democrat Party, that being the Department of Justice here, doing what they can to interfere in the election and block that from coming out. And though the Attorney General, required by Congress to do so, just not going to, and of course, the Biden administration is not going to they're just going to ignore it, flat out ignore it. Now, I talked on Friday about Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, who talked at the time about once this vote occurs, and should the Attorney General just ignore it, defy it, then he should be arrested. She spoke further on this and the rationale, the justification, the legal aspect of why and how it is that would all play out. Historically, how in the past this has been used, as it has, and we'll play that audio coming up. Now, I suspect Republicans will not do it because Republicans, at least there's enough within the party, and you and I have become accustomed to this, they're just afraid of quote, looking bad. Well, we're really accusing them of lawfare, and so we don't want to be accused of it. And this is much of what the Merrick Garlands, the Joe Bidens, these individuals, they bank on, knowing that Republicans, when it really comes down to doing something meaningful in regards to holding them accountable, they won't do it. But we will play the audio from Rep. Anna Paulina Luna coming up. The Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line 447 KSGF. That weather in a moment. Now the news. The first alert forecast sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvement from Color 10 Fox 49. Meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sunny high near 90 today. Heat index as high as 97. Mostly clear 70 tonight. Sunny 86 tomorrow. Wednesday sunshine 86. All righty. Care to Learn. Care to Learn donation drive underway, serving 100,000 students, 40 school districts across Missouri. Delta Roofing, one of the sponsors there. You can get more information at ksgf.com. As expected, the Department of Justice is not going to hold Merrick Garland accountable for refusing to comply with the congressional demands of the audio of Joe Biden being brilliant behind closed doors. Everyone knows why this is. Even the Democrats say, well, Republicans, they just want this out there in order to embarrass them, and to which the obvious question is, why would it embarrass him? We all know the answer to this. Everybody knows what's going on. The emperor has no clothes. We're all, we watch over the weekend. We saw his bizarre behavior. We'll talk about some of this later with the Pope. We saw him start to wander off at the G Summit meeting. Increasingly, you wonder, do they have a point person? I believe it was the leader of Italy that at one point had to grab him by the hand and pull him back with the rest of the group. There was another elite Hollywood fundraiser that was held, Jimmy Kimmel, along with Barack Obama and Joe Biden, and video of that showed that at one point he apparently froze up, and former President Obama had to grab him by the arm. And then what's interesting about that video is he has his hand on his back the entire way leaving the stage, heading upstage to whatever, wherever it was they were going. There was some sort of door, but it was clear that he did not feel that it would have been wise to take his hand off his back, which he was leading him. So whether there are point people that are chosen ahead of time, all right, your job is to make sure Joe doesn't wander off. Everyone knows what's going on here. So what to do of the Department of Justice working to protect him and refusing to comply with Congress? Representative Anna Paulina Luna was on Fox News yesterday, was asked this question, and here is the question followed by her answer.
Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, the House voted to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress for his failure to comply with the subpoena to turn over audio tapes of special counsel Robert Hur's interview with President Biden. President Biden has asserted executive privilege in blocking the release of those audio tapes, while the DOJ says it will not prosecute Garland. Joining me now in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive are Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna and Missouri Senator Eric Schmitt. Great to see you both. Thank you so much for being here. And Congresswoman, I want to start with you because the DOJ said it will not prosecute Merrick Garland over these contempt of Congress charges. They sent a letter to Speaker Johnson. Your next move in the House.
Yeah, so actually several months ago, I introduced a resolution for something called inherent contempt of Congress. So this is something that Congress has the authority to do, and it hasn't been done since the early 1900s. And essentially what that does is I anticipated that the Department of Justice would not do their job. And so I had this really teed up and ready to go. I've brought this to Speaker Johnson's attention. And what that allows Congress to do is really be the punitive arm and really hold Garland accountable by using the sergeant at arms to essentially go and get him as well as the tapes, bring him to the wall of the House, and really be a check and balance on the Department of Justice. Again, this hasn't been done since the early 1900s, but that vote will be coming to the floor, and hopefully we will be able to bring some accountability. I know that if this goes to courts, as Johnson has stated, that's really going to get stuck there. It's not going to do anything, and the American people deserve more than strongly worded letters. I think we're all frustrated, and so again, we're hoping to bring that accountability.
How far that'll go, we'll have Congressman Burleson on in the 8 o'clock hour, and we'll get his thoughts on that. I suspect that, again, Republicans, they become very nervous. They become very weak when we're talking about holding Democrats accountable for things that they know Democrats will scream and yell about and talk about how they're being persecuted. And of course, the media will be on their side, and Republicans, it's, going into election, and we don't want to give off the appearance that we are looking for any sort of revenge. And the imagery, it's going to backfire, and perhaps it'll have the opposite of intended effect, like the persecution of Trump, which has actually helped Trump, and we don't want to help Garland. And they will figure out all these reasons to rationalize allowing him to continue to defy them. We also get to see on full display once again the position of separation of powers. The Department of Justice noting that today's vote disregards of Congress's vote the constitutional separation of powers the Justice Department's need to protect its investigations and the substantial amount of information we have provided to the committee. I will always stand up for this department, its employees, its viral mission to defend our democracy. Now, that was Garland's response last week to this. Anytime there is a subpoena, a request, a demand made by Republicans of Democrats, they talk about separation of powers in their refusal to comply. Anytime it is the other way around, and you had during the Trump years any sort of request or demands or subpoenas issued, and Trump's folks would talk about separation of powers, that was what we call obstruction of justice, see? You see how this works, of course, the hierarchy. If you're a Democrat, you are protected by immunity, you are protected by executive privilege, you are protected by separation of power arguments. If you are a Republican, you are obstructing justice. If you are a Republican, you are part of a cover-up. If you are a Republican, you are part of a conspiracy in order to prevent the American people from seeing the truth, and that clearly is indicative of some sort of acknowledgement that a crime has been committed. This is the country that we live in today. To the point that I don't think a single person was surprised that the Department of Justice said, we don't think so. Because we're us and you're you. I want to shift gears coming up here in a moment, because there is this piece that was put together on CNN in which they were exploring the Trump supporter. Every so often what happens is you get these outlets, whether it's CNN or MSNBC, and they make the determination that they're going to try and figure out the Trump supporter, when in reality, all they're actually doing is trying to find or craft some sort of production that demonstrates how dumb Trump supporters are, how scary Trump supporters are, so that they can continue to talk about how they don't understand Trump supporters, other than we should all be very frightened of Trump supporters. Apparently, CNN has grave concerns about the fact that a disturbing number of Trump supporters believe in a conspiracy. This is what they call a conspiracy, that the United States of America is a republic form of government, not a direct democracy. Now, this is in the Constitution specifically. It's in the Federalist Papers. I mean, this should not be any sort of surprise. But to CNN, this is horrifyingly frightening. And it's a real head-scratcher why they would fall into yet another conspiracy. That coming up. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. Wilder RV, all of your RV needs. Explore the world. Maybe just down the road, perhaps you want to traipse across the country. Maybe going to Canada, go down to Mexico, wherever you want to go. That's the great thing about having an RV is that you can take it just about anywhere. The world is your oyster, and there's no better place for any of your RV. Maybe that you're brand new to the idea of it, or you are a veteran RVer. You grew up that way. You're carrying on the tradition to pass along to your children. Wilder RV in Clinton, Missouri. Their site is incredible, and you can get a real sense of the different variety of RVs they have. You can see the pricing, you can see the financing, and there's no bait and switch stuff, and they're not high pressure at all. Clinton, Missouri, just 85 miles north of Springfield. Well worth the drive. WilderRV.com, also at KSGF.com under Nick's endorsements. Coming up, CNN freaks out over MAGA Republicans, noting that the U.S. is a republic as opposed to a democracy, and the expose surrounding it. This is very, very disturbing, they found at CNN. Now a traffic update. I'm Nick Reed. First Alert Forecast, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals from Color 10 Fox 49, meteorologist Tom Schmidt. Sunny, high near 90 today, heat index 97, clear 70 for an overnight low tonight, sunshine 86 tomorrow, and sunshine on Wednesday with a high near 86. The Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line 447-KSGF, streaming online. Also on YouTube, that's sponsored by Springfield Wraps. CNN freaking out over MAGA Republicans calling the United States a republic, going so far as to note it's a conspiracy theory. Now, there's about a 5-minute segment on this, in which there was apparently the way that the piece, and I'm not going to play the audio because it's 5 or 6 minutes long, but we'll get there's an article around it at redstate.com. We'll get it up so you can check it out if you so choose. But apparently, while just exploring what exactly is up with these people who don't support Joe Biden, they notice this disturbing trend of Trump supporters referencing the fact that we were a republic. Now, to what degree this occurred, of course, we don't know. Was this a discussion with 100 different Trump supporters and 5 noted this, or was it 10 supporters and 5 noted this? So there's a bit of that is missing from this. But if you watch the piece, you get the impression this has come up because, of course, they're talking to Trump supporters about who's really truly a danger to democracy. Because obviously Trump is, but some of these delusional folks like you and me don't necessarily see it that way. And the special correspondent Jamie Gangle, on at least one occasion, and apparently more than that, was corrected when he noted that, or the question regarding who really is truly a danger to democracy. You would have some of these individuals say, well, actually, we're a republic. So the special correspondent goes around and talking with a number of different Trump supporters, and then sat down with author Ann Applebaum. And this author's purpose was to, of course, make Trump supporters seem deranged and like dangerous lunatics, because we are, in fact, nothing other than a democracy. Quote, America is a democracy. It was founded as a democracy. Now, there is some nuance here. And even Applebaum noted that those two terms have over time been interchangeable. So on one hand, she tries to make it seem as if one is synonymous with the other, but then on the other hand, talking about how this is essentially conspiracy theories, that Trump supporters believe in the conspiracy theory that we are a republic. Now, Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution reads as follows. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion and, on application of the legislature or of the executive when the legislature cannot be convened, against domestic violence. You would think that would be step one if you work at CNN and you're trying to figure out why is it that these Trump supporters think that we live in a republic, in a republican form of. You might go to the Constitution and see what it says. Maybe that's part of the reason. Now, some of this I know many of you understand. So I'm just going to very simply go over it. And if some of this information is new to you, don't be embarrassed, don't be ashamed, because this is the narrative that is created. We are falsely educated to a large degree as to the government. This is why you have such a significant portion of the population that thinks we should have a national vote for president, which, by the way, that in and of itself, the fact that we don't have a national vote for president indicates that we are not a democracy in that capacity. We utilize the democratic component of voting within our republic. It was very specifically, our government was set up very specifically to not be a democracy in the sense that everything that occurs in this country, everything that is allowed in this country to occur, everything that's legal or illegal is done so by the democratic process. In other words, whatever a majority of the people want. The problem with a pure democracy, if you will, is that you don't have any rights. In fact, the fact that our Constitution lays out and indicates in the Bill of Rights what were recognized as such important and significant human rights defies the idea that we are a democracy, because in a democracy you don't have any rights other than to vote, but there are no protections. In other words, if we wanted slavery once again. You just vote, and as long as you get a majority of people who say, yeah, we're going to enslave those people over there, so be it. Because that's democracy. Well, but you can't do that because of rights and so forth. That's right, because we are a republic. The Electoral College, again, is a further demonstration of the fact that we are not a democracy in the sense that it is always talked about. The fact that you've got CNN as an outlet here that is attempting to portray Trump supporters as conspiracy theorists because they recognize the history of the foundation says one of two things about CNN. One, either they themselves are completely ignorant and furthermore have no interest in actually learning the truth here. There's no interest whatsoever. They go and they find some anti-Trump author to talk about, well, clearly we are a democracy. This whole thing of a republic is conspiracy theory. That's nuts. The point here is not to actually learn anything. Furthermore, it is to once again portray to the audience that Trump supporters are a bunch of deranged lunatics that have no idea what they're talking about, and so that's why this is package, if you will, this news story was put together in the fashion that it was. There is one aspect of the story that is somewhat problematic, and it should be a lesson to all of us, and that is there were these two gals, and again, you can watch the video. We'll get it up at ksgf.com. And when he essentially is asking, well, why aren't we a democracy? And what you had were these two individuals that understood historically that we are a republic as opposed to a democracy, but did not really necessarily understand why that was. And so they couldn't answer the question. Now, it's valuable to understand, if you recognize that we are a republic, to understand exactly what that means. Particularly, given that we live in an era where if you are not obedient to the Democrats and if you do not just march to the talking points that they put forth, they are going to do everything they can to make you look like an idiot. And if they interview 10 people, 9 that give an articulate, understood and digestible answer as to that question, but 1 doesn't, we know which one they're going to go with. And so it's important for us to understand these differences. It is important for us to understand that under a democracy, you have no rights. Your rights are dictated by what a majority of people want. And if a majority of people want you in prison for your political beliefs, then so be it. That's democracy. Because majority rule. And it's a very significant difference, incidentally. Many people will present it as, again, it's the same thing. It is not the same thing. One is a recognition of your individual rights, and the other is not. I just want to put it very simply. In fact, the Red State story that has this CNN piece put together to try to make Trump supporters look like conspiracy theorists also has a Prager University 5-minute video on what exactly is a republic. What are we, and what does that mean? And it's very digestible. It's very easy. It's not really overly complicated. Once you understand it, you understand the history behind it and what it means. So I would recommend that you watch it, because if you're going to make claims that are accurate about what form of government we actually are, it's very helpful to actually be, to understand that, to be able to answer questions like, well, what's wrong with the democracy? Why is it that it's better to be a republic than a democracy? To be able to actually understand that is valuable, not just to anyone who's asking you or trying to make you look stupid, but it's also something that you should just know. Final note on this. even if the target of this piece by CNN was wrong, let's say that we aren't a republic, as it is specifically stated in our Constitution, but instead a full-blown democracy. It isn't a conspiracy theory to believe that we're a republic, specifically given, and you can disagree with it all you want, that it's specifically listed in the Constitution. Again, Article 4, Section 4, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government. This term conspiracy theory is something else that the left uses just as a buzzword to try to discredit people, whether it's a conspiracy or not. That would not be a conspiracy to read word for word from the Constitution, or to read the Federalist Papers, or any other sort of historical reference to the founding of this country. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a red flag buzzword. Anytime you hear the left talking about conspiracy theory, you can recognize that in all likelihood they do not have any sort of valid argument, and perhaps not even an understanding as to what the debate is. So they just want to shut you down and do the name calling: racist, homophobe, conspiracy theorist, flat earther, anti-science. All the things that they consistently demonstrate are accurate descriptions of them. Anyhow, is that up on KSGF.com, that Red State piece?
What?
Is the Red State piece up?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's KSGF.com, must-read headlines.
Yeah, so if you go there, like I said, there's two videos. There's the CNN video, which it's I think 5, 6, 7 minutes long, something. I was going to play some of the audio, but it's just very frustrating, and there's no point. But you can watch it if you like and get a sense of what it is they're trying to do. But then below it, there is the very informative, again, I think it's 5 minutes or so, explaining exactly what it means, why we are a republic, what that means, and the difference between a republic versus a democracy as they talk about it. And like I said, we do have democratic components to our form of republic that we have, and that is when we go and we vote. But we're specifically structured in a way so that democracy isn't the rule of the day in this country. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Pyramid Roofing Company, talk at text line 447 KSGF. A number of you noting that, as kids, we used to recite that Pledge of Allegiance every morning and to the republic for which it stands. This is one of the remarkable things, again, about the CNN piece, where they act just totally confused as to why it is that Trump supporters believe that we live in a Republican form of government as opposed to a strict democracy. And as I noted, even if we did not live in that form of government, one that is a republic, is it really that difficult to figure out why it is that people would believe that? Of course, they believe it, those who do, because they know it's true. It's in the Constitution. It's in the Pledge of Allegiance. I mean, there are numerous references, and for CNN to be like, we just can't figure this out. Or, really? What is it that you pay attention to? What are your reference points here? I suspect there is a very good chance that these people in the echo chamber of the left-wing media really don't know. They're not educated when it comes to our form of government. They're not educated when it comes to history. And then what we have seen over the past, I'd say it started during the Obama administration, this reaction that Democrats have, whatever Republicans say or whatever Trump supporters say has to be wrong. It just has to be wrong. This is how we end up with kids in elementary schools being given pornography and being taken to, strip clubs where drag shows are performing and they are allowed to put dollar bills in the G-strings of men because, you get one weirdo that promotes it, and then Republicans or Trump supporters at some point, conservatives, God forbid Christians, go, yeah, I don't really think that that's appropriate. And so the knee-jerk reaction is, well, if Republicans think it's wrong, then it must be right. And that is the moral compass, if you will, of the left. What is it that this is how we end up with a political party that has been supportive of open borders. Once upon a time, everyone at least portrayed themselves as being opposed to illegal immigration, both political parties. Once upon a time, both political parties at least portrayed themselves as being pro-America and believing that this is the greatest country ever. But, increasingly, all you have to do is have Trump declare greatest country ever, or, look, make America great again. Who would be opposed to that? Once upon a time, in fact, the Clinton campaign used Make America Great Again to launch from, I believe it was Little Rock, Arkansas, the Clinton campaign for president. Now, you would have disagreement over whose vision was the vision most likely to get us to being great again. But what you didn't have is what you have today, and that is the Democrat Party just take the totally opposite position of make America great. We're never great. How many times have we heard that? When was America ever great? We're not a great country. We're a racist country. We're a homophobic country. We're a country that eats up all of the wealth and the resources of the rest of the world. We're built on racism. That reaction in which people on the left increasingly take a stance that is based only on what is the stance of my political enemy, and I'm going to take the opposite position. So it then makes sense to a degree whenever you have people that are Trump supporters that know, well, actually we're a republic, not a democracy, that they take the opposite position. And then act like they just can't figure out why anyone would think that. Well, you knew this one was coming. Tom Martz, how often have I preached this?
Yes. When you said that, when we took a break, I said, oh, Tom Martz, he's going to be texted in.
Oh, yes. Yeah. The other thing about it that to me is kind of sad is that I think it's very interesting and fascinating. All of the lengths that the founders went to in order to come up with this more perfect union It's really fascinating, the studying that they did, the sources from which they drew their thoughts, their debate, the debates themselves were debates with the purpose of trying to get to the best answer possible for humanity in terms of the forming of the government. And it's just so wildly dismissed that, I think if you are somebody who does find an interest in those things, it's really sad to see such a fascinating point in history that led to this country and led to what many people reference as the 5,000-year leap, in which in just such a short period of time, humanity advanced so quickly because of the way that our government was set up, and that it just, again, largely gets ignored and dismissed. And anyone who like, a republic, well, what's wrong with you people? We're a democracy. Care to Learn donation drive serving 100,000 students in over 40 school districts across Missouri, sponsored by A1 Custom Car Care. You can learn details about it and how you can help if you so choose at ksgf.com. News in 60 seconds. I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 1041. It's whatever. I'm Nick Reed, streaming live, KSGF.com. If you miss any of the show, fear not. We got the on-demand section so you can listen to what you missed, or maybe you want to listen to some of it again. You want to post some of it, whatever you want to do. Share it about. Pyramid Roofing Company, talk a text line 447-KSGF, and we are 2 weeks away from the deadline for signups for the Great Escape, and we've got Cam back in studio with us. We had you here when we launched this, and this time around it seems, I think it is different. The amount of time that people have to sign up was shorter.
Yes.
And so because of that, we are looking at a deadline situation, which we haven't really had to worry about so much in the past.
No, but this is the first time in a long time that we've decided to try it twice a year because we
Right.
had so many people say, well, I couldn't go in the spring.
Yes.
So we thought, okay, we'll try to accommodate. And so, we're kind of building a program on that.
And there are some that do go on both.
Yes,
but
there are.
You have a lot of people who
Either or.
Either vacation or hunting season is in the
Yes.
fall, so they like to go in the spring. And so because of, like you said, you get requests or people like, oh, we can't ever go in the springtime. And a lot of times it's folks who have to schedule their vacations
In advance.
Yeah, and
Yes.
after the first of the year, which means the springtime is too late for them, and fall is the only time. So everyone's got their own story.
Well, plus we have once before gone right after the election, and
Yes.
that was fun.
Yes.
Whether, like you said, whether
Right.
we're celebrating or having a wake,
Right.
we're together and everybody's being able to kind of vent and talk, and it's just a good time for conversations.
It
and-
was, and it was 2016. It was after
Yeah.
the 2016 election last time, and one of the things about it that I found, I don't know,
cathartic.
well, it was funny because anytime anyone there realized that we were from America and they weren't, they wanted to talk about it. They, they just like, oh my, what do you think about it? They're just very curious.
As the world is watching,
Yeah.
they travel a great deal, and I mean it is amazing. You get someplace. Oh, you're American. I was on a bus in Canada one time, and the bus driver goes off on our president, and we're all Americans sitting there, go, "What the heck?"
Right? Yeah. Just drive.
Really, it's like we pay you for your opinion.
Yeah. That's pretty good. So I'm going to get, let's see, we're going to get the news update, traffic, and then the details, because 2 weeks,
Yes.
this
We're
week
coming
and the
down.
next is it. And so we wanted to, because again, that window being a much shorter window of time than in the past, have you back in. And because oftentimes before it was just running out of space. But now it's, of course, you always have the space situation potentially, but the time is the component right now.
Right.
And we want
Well,
to make
it
sure.
is something different. So,
Uh-huh.
change is always a little. People have questions, and we want to make sure everybody's well informed.
Indeedy do. So the details on that in just a couple of moments. Here right now, the latest news update. First alert forecast sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements from Color 10 Fox 49, meteorologist Tom Schmidt. High near 90 today, heat index 97, 70 for an overnight low tonight, sunny 86 tomorrow, Wednesday sunny with a high of 86. Coming up, we have our second great escape of the year, and this is something we've done one other time, and also one other time the first weekend after the presidential election. It was 2016, which made it, well, that happened to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was fun. We were celebrating.
Yeah. Costa Mujeres, this is the Ryu Palace.
Yes.
And I don't think I told you this, but when we were at our happy hour, there was a couple. I keep trying to get them to go on it, but the timing never works out for them. When they ask where, the husband said, "Oh, that's where so-and-so goes," and he just raved. He said, yeah, he loves it. That Ryu line is the only line that this friend of his even goes to any longer.
And
But
I've been to several. The palaces, they're upscale. You know, we always
Right.
do the top one, and they're fabulous. They're beautiful. The Costa Mujeres is about 45 miles north of Cancun, and they still have the palm trees on the beach. It's a little protected because the actual island is off the coast, so they don't get the seaweed that some of Cancun
Right.
does. And the waters are calm and turquoise, and the sand is sandy white, sugar. You know, it's a beautiful stretch of beach.
And the reason that, for those of you just tuning in, that we're talking about this heavy again is because of the time frame. We've never really had a window that is as brief as this one, and
That's
so we
right.
had 2 weeks left for people, and we mentioned that because we don't want some of you who are like, "Oh, well, we're going to go. We'll wait. We'll sign up eventually." That eventually is now. Or within the next
Now
couple of
now.
weeks.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And so we don't want people to miss it for that reason.
That's
I mean,
right.
if there are a lot of reasons people can't necessarily
We've
go.
always just gone along and get along because we had time, but
Yeah.
because we are doing 2 a year and we had to set deadlines, that it is coming up July 1st, and we have to cut it off.
So tell us about, I know we've talked about it before, but for those who haven't heard it or want to hear it again, going to hear it again.
Yes, we are going to the Ryu Palace, Costa Mujeres. It's beautiful property, big. It's almost in a big horseshoe, so almost all the rooms on that side are looking
Okay.
out toward the palm trees and the ocean. It's really nice. They have 6 restaurants, 5 bars. They have exchange privileges with the sister property, the Duna Bar, which is right next door. It is a little more. I wouldn't say isolated, but it's not in the hub of Cancun with
Right.
all the frenetic activity, which is kind of great for us because when we take our groups, we have our own party.
Right,
So, I
yeah.
mean, I tease, we could go to Table Rock and sit on a dock and have a good time
Yeah.
because we have our own little friends and party and talkers, and it's just great, you know. So, they have all the complimentary kayaks and catamarans and snorkel equipment. They have the spa, you know, all the things that we've come to expect. It's not adults only, but in November,
Right.
kids won't really be an issue.
Yeah.
Which, not that we don't like kids, but, you know, we don't like sharing the pool. We're kind of that way.
Right. Yeah. Splashing around.
Yeah. The dates are Sunday. Well, I take that back. The dates are Sunday to Saturday, November 10th to 16th, but we'll spend the night of the 9th in St. Louis so
Right.
we can catch that charter flight. So it's a direct shot, 3 hours. We get on the plane, we get off the plane. It's great. We don't lose our luggage. We don't misconnect. And Sarah and I were just talking about the
Right.
the,
Oh,
the
yeah.
perils
it's a
of travel.
nightmare.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we like that get on, get off part. There'll be a shuttle waiting for us when we get there. It's all of our drinks, our food, our gratuities are covered. You know, it's just an all-inclusive deal, and we love that.
Someone who had not been on a trip asked recently, they said, "Now, when you go, are there group things you have to be part of?" I was like, "No, you don't at all if you don't want to."
That's right.
You've got, most of the people that go on the trips to some degree like to hang out with others, but there are always some that just, you know, hey, it's a great deal and everything's planned out, and they just sort of do their own thing. So you can do whatever you want.
Little or as much as you like. Well, and a lot of people, you know, the 3 days that you and Sarah broadcast, that's a great meeting point.
Yeah,
People will kind
right.
of filter in, filter out, and find out where everybody, or the pool. There's always seems to be one pool where everybody kind of is. So you can find people if you want to. We had honeymooners once. I don't think we saw them the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it's what you'd like to do and who you'd
We've
like
had
to
a
be
couple
with.
of honeymooners. now
Yeah,
that I
we
think
have,
about it.
and
Yeah.
they were fun, and I mean, they were sweet people, but
Yeah.
you know, they did their thing, and
Right.
you know,
Mhm.
um, I think it's a real relaxed atmosphere. And sometimes we offer a couple of little events. If you want to come with the group, it's extra. And I mean, most everybody does it, but you don't have to.
Yeah, we try to get a catamaran, and that, like you mentioned, extra. And the reason that's extra is in case people don't want to do it, so they don't have to pay for it. But it's always I love the catamaran.
everybody loves
every year, I think I say it out loud. Like I just. It all really comes together. Everyone is there and just has such a great. The whole thing is fun, but you just can't beat those.
Well, it's that one-on-one time too, and you are in that little environment together. I know every year I think, well, maybe Nick do something. No, we like the catamaran.
Yeah, everyone.
I
mean, everyone seems to love it, especially about halfway into it.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it is a blast.
Cost. Oh, okay. We have two different, they're all junior suites, which are nice. They're nice large rooms. We have a junior suite garden view with everything included is $18.85 per person. The only thing you'd add to that would be the hotel the night before and your insurance. That's it. And then the junior suite swim up is $21.15 per person. And again, it's all inclusive. The deposit is $500 per person plus the insurance. But the final payment is July 1st.
Right.
So we're kind of just there now. So.
And there's two forms of insurance. One is if you cancel, you can get a voucher, and then the other is cashback.
Cashback, and that one's a little more. I think it's $215 or something for the cashback, and it's $100 and something for the vouchers. And the vouchers are good for 13 months. We have a lot of people who do the vouchers because they said if we couldn't go, we want to go back.
Why is it 13 months instead of a year?
I don't know. That's just maybe they're trying to give you a little lanyap. You know, in New Orleans, you get 13 as lanyap. It's an extra.
Okay.
You get 13.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, you're not from New Orleans.
No, I'm not.
You need to go visit and get that.
I've been there, but I don't know what that is.
Lanyap is extra.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. We, as you mentioned, we do the show, and then anyone who wants to be on the show, we had a lot of people come on the show this past time. And in the past, it's been a couple people, but it was great. It was just
everyone just talked about what they wanted to see, and I think it's the most fun when we have the management team send somebody over because they're so nervous. They're so cute, and everybody's just rooting for them. You know, I think it's such a good job.
We are. We're very supportive.
We are.
The roles are reversed. You know, we're like taking care of them. Like, no, you're doing fantastic. You're excellent job. Cute. It's one of the aspects of all inclusives that it just sort of messes with my mind, and I've talked to other people as well. Especially if you've never been on one, is that when you're done eating, when you're done getting, you don't have to pay because it's already taken care of.
Well, and if you're at the bar, let me get you a drink. It's never who's tit for tat.
Right.
Who's doing
sure.
It's just, it's so relaxed. It's just so easy.
And the great thing about it being paid so early is when it gets here, you don't feel like you're out anything, if that makes sense, because it's been paid for. It's you're taking care of it. Because sometimes that's the thing in my mind. If you go on a trip and you're paying for it as you go, you're just like, I know. But whenever it's done and paid for, and July 1st being the deadline, and come November, it's Oh,
and people will say, they'll say, should we take something? And take some ones, take some fives, because if you have a favorite bartender who fills up your bubble mug every day, But it's 100. A couple, and you may not spend that,
right?
Which it's just really nice.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
Is there anything I'm missing, Sarah, that you wanted to mention or ask?
I don't think so. I did put up a video so you could see some of the rooms. So I did that on our YouTube Live, and then I'll make sure to put it up at ksgf.com as well, so you can see exactly what we are talking about and where you could be setting come November.
Well, and right now you think, oh, the weather's gorgeous. We were at the pool yesterday. It's great. But you remember, come November.
It never fails. Never fails. So I used to have to be the person that would stay behind, and I would sit there and I would listen to just these drinks being made. You could hear the ocean, and it was just so peaceful. And meanwhile, back here, it was always snowing. There was always ice. Winter weather was just right there. So
and the holidays are coming.
Exactly. So it's just nice to get away.
And the election's just over, which will be kind of a crazy time, I'm sure. So let's just go mellow out for a week and then be ready for the holidays.
That's right.
Just ease into them, That's what we need. It's therapeutic.
Yeah, and for people,
it's cheaper than therapy.
It definitely is. Well, and I would mention also, if people who went on the trip this last time around, they think, well, we just got back. But come November,
Yeah, we'll
it'll be a
thinking that way.
very distant
Oh,
memory.
we already have several that have
Yeah.
resigned. Yeah, they want to do both. Yeah. So it'll be great fun.
Oh, and also Sarah had posted a video of the last trip that she had put together.
yes.
But I told her, I said, you need to put on there something like that is actually us, because it looked so beautiful. You would think, oh, well, that's just a promotional video that they put together. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it
so
is
I
true.
was like, we
Yeah.
need to have our logo or something so people know, no, that is us. That's our group. That's where
Little
we were.
arrow saying Nick,
Yeah.
Sarah.
How do people contact you?
Call me at the travel group, and my number is 417-887-8898. Or is there a link through the
Yes.
website, Sarah?
If you go to ksgf.com, we have that little slider thing that's a rotating tile. Just click, I think it's either the second or third tile. You'll see it. It says 2024 KSGF Great Escape. And then I have all your contact information plus cost and kind of the frequently asked questions. All of that is going to be in that little
And
section.
the forms are in there too.
Yes.
Yeah. Great. That's all we need.
All right,
Good.
fantastic.
Well, I hope
Are-
everybody will come.
Yes, and so you're headed over there now to the office?
I'm going to run by home
Okay.
to get my second cup of coffee, and then I'll go to work.
All right, sounds good. Look
All right.
forward to Mexico.
Mexico.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks,
All
Nick.
right, it's great to see you, Cam.
to
Springfield's
see you.
Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. A1 Custom Car Care, all of your car care needs. Heat index 97 today. This is the sort of heat that can have an impact on your health, especially if you are what would be considered vulnerable when it comes to health, if you're elderly perhaps, and you may think, well, I don't need an air conditioner. I can tough it out, but you're sitting at those intersections and the heat coming off the pavement, it can be dangerous. So A1 Custom Car Care, all of your car care needs, including air conditioning, and make sure that you visit with them before you say, well, I've seen on TV where I can buy this can of stuff and it's not going to cost nearly as much. It could cost you a lot more. That stuff goes in, it cannot come out. And if it cannot come out, that may be preventing a fix from occurring. You have to replace the entire unit. That is going to cost you dearly. So my recommendation is before you make any decision, talk first with the folks at A1 Custom Car Care and have them diagnose it for you and figure out what the best path for you is. It's A1 Custom Car Care. All right, so The past weekend was not a banner weekend, and the latter part of last week, not a banner latter part of last week for the Biden campaign, the Biden administration. All sorts of increasingly bizarre behavior, though it's not. I mean, it's not unexpected. It's just the frequency that it's occurring. It appears almost as if every single appearance that he makes now, it's like Elder Watch, where, okay, what is going to happen this time? Who is going to have to be his caretaker? What thing is he going to freeze up? Is he going to wander off? It's interesting when you look at the reaction to Mitch McConnell and those moments that he had, though they were much less frequent than what we're dealing with Joe Biden, but he had a couple of those moments where he froze up, which is what we're seeing Joe Biden do as well. Yet, when it came to Mitch McConnell, everyone agreed that there was something going on there. You didn't have Republicans saying, no, that's perfectly fine. Now, of course, his office claimed that he was dizzy or so. I don't remember what his handler said. It was something that everyone was like, okay, whatever. That doesn't even make sense. But you had Republican voters. Everyone recognized that this is not normal. When it comes to Biden, however, you have Republicans that are like, this isn't normal. You have a lot of Democrat voters that acknowledge something's going on here. But the talking heads, the elected officials that are Democrats, the pundits on MSNBC, CNN, they all act like everything's just perfectly fine. Everything is absolutely wonderful. There's no problems here whatsoever. And you look at the realistic observations of people regarding Mitch McConnell that were honest. No one claimed that it was a conspiracy theory. No one claimed that these videos were being taken out of context. What they've coined this new term, not deep fake, but I think they're calling it cheap fake, where they're claiming all of these videos that are going around of Biden wandering around and being lost, the glazed look in his eye, the freezing up, that they can't claim that it's a deep fake because there's so many people there at these events. So, it's not as if it's some sort of private moment that you can't verify where it actually or when it or if it actually occurred, because it clearly occurs. And so they're coming up with this term, and I think I saw it referenced twice. And I want to say they're calling it cheap fake. And the suggestion here is that, yes, the White House is calling it cheap fake, which it contends is a sign of failing journalistic ethics at a number of conservative publications. The practice of deceptively editing and circulating clips of political opponents increasingly being used in frequently weeks by Republican lawmakers and conservative publications. Anytime you have a conservative publication or outlet that is talking about a video, it is because it's gone viral already. This is not a scenario in which you have Daily Wire, Daily Caller, PJ Media, Red State, Hot Air, where you have these what are called right-wing media outlets that are making these videos go viral. As much as these different outlets would like, I'm sure, to believe that they have that sort of power, they're reporting on it and covering it because it's so obvious and clear, and because these videos are already going viral. And they're going viral because we can see it with our own eyes. So I suspect we're going to hear this term cheap fake instead of deep fake, suggesting that what you're seeing isn't actually what you're seeing. What you see before your very eyes, it was edited or it was from some different angle. And it's amazing how over and over and over again we all get tricked and fooled by selectively edited video. And if you notice, when they talk about it being selectively edited or out of context, have you noticed what they don't do? And that is release an unedited version of it in context. They never say, oh, and incidentally, this is something that Trump has dealt with in the past, where they will claim he made this statement, he made this comment, And then you will have Trump people, supporters, Republicans go, actually, here's the full context of it. Here is the statement in its entirety. And you can see with the context here, what they're pushing out is deceiving. They don't do that the other way around. You don't have the accusations of Republicans editing something that Joe Biden said and then release the real in context comments or behavior in order to demonstrate that things were taken out of context. And that's because, of course, they weren't. The White House Correspondents Association issued a critical response to Biden sort of snapping at a reporter because they didn't ask the right question. We'll play some of that audio and then cover. Did you see the Pope thing? That was weird.
No,
Where
I
he
didn't.
I don't even know what he was doing. It looked like he was going in to sniff his hair.
Ugh.
But then he just touched foreheads with his. It was just,
That's
again,
weird. I'll look it
was
up.
just very weird, very weird. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. First Alert Forecast, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals from Color 10 Fox 49, meteorologist Tom Schmidt. Sunny with a high of 90 today, heat index 97. Clear tonight 70, sunny 86 tomorrow, Wednesday, sunny 86. Sarah Myers.
Thank you, Quick Draw Gun in Monette. It is always a good idea to take a trip down there to the shop, but right now especially because they are doing their annual summer sale. And right now, most guns down there, they are on sale, and there are multiple blowout sale items that you can take advantage of. Now, their summer sale, it's going to last until July 4th, so make sure to make plans to head down there soon. And while you're down there, make sure to take advantage of an ammo restock because we may see an ammo shortage as we get closer to 2025, or get yourself on that list for custom Cerakoting or laser engraving services. It's a great shop. It's easy to find, just a short drive down 60, about an hour away from Springfield. Now, in the meantime, if you are looking for a specific firearm or accessory, or you just have questions, go ahead and give Brad and his team a call today. You can find all of that contact information for Quick Draw Gun in Monette under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
One of the more bizarre, well, an additional bizarre bit of behavior from Biden was when he was greeting the Pope, and he did this weird. Did you see the actual video?
Yes, so I watched the video during the break, and News Nation, I just Googled it, so I watched News Nation, and their headline of it is Biden's forehead embrace of Pope Francis is nothing new, expert claims.
Oh, expert. They found it. So now they found an expert, and you could see the video. It's just
It's awkward.
It's awkward, and some of it is because it's Joe Biden, and we are accustomed to him doing weird things and getting in people's personal space. He just has a real deal with that. I think that he maybe believes it to be charming somehow, which is why he does it. But he leans over because I think the Pope's in a wheelchair. He's sitting down, and it's this slow approach. The whole thing is weird. And then he just presses his forehead against the head of the Pope. And I don't know. It's just odd and awkward. Some of the comments you were reading.
Oh, yeah, I got to read this one to you. It says, Biden is telling the Pope, "You do a great job, man. I know a little bit about it. I was a Pope myself for a few years after law school. I poped around a little bit around Scranton. No joke."
No joke.
Poped around Scranton.
And they keep telling us it's normal. We are a dysfunctional family in the sense, I've laid out this before, but it's just so stark to me. You got the family, and they're together for the holidays, and somebody in the family is clearly in decline, should no longer have their keys, should not probably be able to, even live alone. And then you have some in the family that are in denial because, it's a loved one. And plus, you don't want to just think about those things. Those are never fun situations. And so they, will rationalize it. No, it's not that bad. Or, everyone, forgets the name of a pet every so often. They start to present it as if it's perfectly normal behavior. Then you have some in the family that are like, you need to wake up. This, he is going to hurt himself. This is not normal behavior. And you have this dispute going on between those who see reality and those who want to be in denial of reality. And then you have some that in the family that just sit back because they don't like the conflict and they stay out of it altogether. And that's how, as a nation, we are behaving when it comes to Joe Biden. You have those of us who just see what's happening. I mean, it's right in front of our very eyes. And then you have those that are in denial. And it's for political reasons, of course. And they, rationalize everything. They try to claim that what he's doing is no different. And that's how you end up with a, quote, expert saying that the forehead embrace, is that what it was called? Forehead embrace? Mm-hmm. I've never even heard that term before. But evidently it is so normal, I'm weird because I've never heard of the forehead embrace. There was an event. Let's see. Okay, so this is the story on the Pope and the forehead embrace. There were two other, let's see. Let's look at this one. So there was the fundraiser that took place. And this fundraiser had a display by Biden that was not unlike the G7 display where the leader of Italy had to grab him. He sort of wandered off. He got distracted by something, and so she had to grab him by the arm and get him back where he was supposed to be. Now, of course, we're told that that's perfectly normal. Fundraiser that took place, it was the rich Hollywood elites once again. You had Barack Obama, hosted by Jimmy Kimmel, and, raising all of this money. And he, it was a similar situation where this time instead of wandering off, he kind of froze up. And so finally, and you can see somebody took a video of this. Obama grabs him by the arm and pulls him as they were attempting to go upstage so that they could exit. And he, in fact, has his hand on Biden's back the whole way, sort of directing him the entire way upstage, which was actually quite a distance. And it indicates, he was guiding him the whole way. And for those that want to continue to say that this is perfectly normal behavior, why is it that none of the other world leaders have this happen to them? Why is it no other candidate has this occur? On one hand, we're told this is perfectly normal behavior, but it's always Joe Biden this is happening to. You don't have other world leaders or elected officials, at least on this level. I'm sure there probably are some members of Congress that are in this same state of affairs, mentally speaking, but we don't see them because they're just not on the national level to the degree that Joe Biden is. But you don't ever see at a G Summit meeting other world leaders focusing on anyone other than Joe Biden. You don't see any other world leaders freeze up and have a glossed look on their face, glossed over look. You don't see them wandering away. It's Biden every single time. And that indicates that it's not normal. They're trying to claim that well, it's more of the cheap fake stuff. And this is a term that's being used by the administration, that this is out of context. You're not seeing what it is that you think you're seeing. This is the launching point for a Breitbart piece. White House rattled as video of Biden's alleged cognitive decline goes viral. The White House has reportedly grown weary of videos that appear to show Biden experiencing a cognitive decline and right-leaning media reporting on them. A report from the Daily Beast attempted to debunk a series of clips that appeared to show the president experiencing cognitive decline, saying they were either misrepresented or deceptively edited. The outlet did not address the fact that the president has exhibited public gaffes and memory lapses for several months. And so again, okay, well then where are the unedited footage videos? If they're going to make this claim that these videos are not legit, that these videos are altered in a way to make Biden appear as if he's doing something he isn't, then provide the unedited videos. This is just like their stance with keeping hidden the audio recording of the special investigation into him taking classified documents and the audio tape, and they want to keep that under wraps. They claim that he's sharp behind closed doors. They never want to provide the evidence to back up their assertions. And of course, we all know why this is. Now, the White House Correspondents Association issued a critical response to Biden complaining about reporters not playing by the, quote, rules by asking questions that he did not want to answer. We'll play that audio coming up. I'm Nick Reed. I want a great homeloan.com. All of your home loan needs, big, small, everything in between, refinancing perhaps. Why would I refinance? I have an interest rate at 3.5%. You may still be able to come out ahead depending on your particular circumstance. Do not make any sort of judgment on that if it's something that you have thought about, and then basing your decision off what you see on the news or hear other people saying. They are way behind the curve. You need to get with the folks with the Carricker team in order to get the best, most up-to-date information about your particular situation as possible, and that's at iwantagreathomeloan.com, because you do. The White House Correspondents Association issuing a statement critical of the Biden administration based off his response to the following question.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for President Zelensky shortly on the announcements, but if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you about your discussions on the situation in Gaza here at the summit. You were asked just a short time ago about it after the skydiving demonstration. Can you give us your assessment of Hamas's response? And do you believe that they are trying to work towards a deal, or is this response working against a deal? And what is your message to allies, including those here at the G7, about what more, if anything, the U.S. can do to drive towards a peace agreement? Thank you.
wish you guys would play by the rules a little bit. I'm here to talk about a critical situation in Ukraine. Ask me another subject. I'll be happy to answer it in detail later.
All right, so the response to that was the following statement. White House Correspondents Association believes it is in the public interest to make clear that at a presidential press conference, at home or abroad, there are no preconditions regarding question topics. While the White House does determine the number of reporters that the president will recognize, it is up to professional journalists to decide what to ask. Further repudiating Biden's assertion that there are, quote, rules that reporters must follow, namely only asking questions on the topic of Biden's choosing, the White House Correspondents Association statement noted any leader may prefer that reporters ask only one question or ask only about a topic that is of most interest to the president, but a free press functions independently. WHCA would welcome more opportunities to pose a range of questions to the president in a press conference setting. The statement concluded a not-so-subtle jab at the lack of presidential access granted to the press by Biden handlers. Donald Trump, meanwhile, and this is a great juxtapositioning, I mentioned earlier that the money well the Democrats keep going to for the Biden administration are rich Hollywood elite folk, 0.001 percenters. And even at that, they have to bring in people like Clinton. They have to bring in people like Obama in order to draw in a crowd, Jimmy Kimmel hosting. So while you have, yet again, the elites, the uber wealthy elites, all gathering for Joe Biden, you have Donald Trump in the inner city in Detroit meeting with churchgoers. One of these churches in Detroit specifically, as he's sitting there with a number of church leaders, and one of them had the following to say about Trump.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President.
Wrong audio, please hold, and here we go.
President Trump, I'm so humbled that you would be here. President Obama never came to the hood, so to speak, right? President Joe Biden, he went to the big NAACP dinner, but he never came to the hood. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
The Biden folks continue to serve up this comparison. The last time that there was a high-profile fundraiser that had Clinton, had Obama there, it was in New York. At the same time, when Trump is visiting with average New Yorkers, making his way to the black areas of New York and talking with and meeting with construction workers, blue-collar workers, folks in law enforcement. And I just don't know that you can get a greater compare and contrast in terms of which of the two parties is the party that represents the uber wealthy and elite versus the party currently that is of the working person. Now, visually, you see this play out, and it is contrary to everything that the Democrats claim that they are. Some may say, why on earth do they continue to do this, to demonstrate that they are the party of the uber rich, while Trump is out there among the common man? And I think that they don't have much choice. They are in desperate need to rake these dollars in, and this is the place that they can get it, from their support base, and that's the uber wealthy on the left. So whether it was months ago with Stephen Colbert hosted that fundraising event with the uber wealthy, while Donald Trump is, again, spending time with construction workers and going into bodegas. And then this past weekend, you have yet again another one of these out in Los Angeles this time, the uber wealthy at an event emceed by another celebrity, while Donald Trump is in the inner city hoods or hood of Detroit. being thanked by the leader of black churches for doing something that Biden and Obama would never do. Now, they'll show up at the big ritzy NAACP events, but when it comes to actually coming down, meeting with these people, talking with them about what's going on in their worlds, thanking Trump because he's the only one who does it. The consistency of the audience that each of these two candidates has gives a tremendous insight, not only into which grouping, which party represents which, but frankly, where they're most comfortable. And Donald Trump is comfortable just around anyone. I mean, he can spend time around any of these people. It doesn't incidentally mean that he is uncomfortable around the uber wealthy. He fits in there just as well. Ronald Reagan had this knack that no matter what his setting, he seemed to fit in it. He just had this ability, whether it was around farmers or ranchers or on his own farm, or wearing a tuxedo at some sort of event in which he was speaking. He just always looked like him. He always looked like he was very comfortable. He did not look like, when John Kerry tried to do the windsurfing thing, or the many instances in which you have somebody who is a high-profile elected official trying to portray themselves as something that they're, and you could just tell. It's like, that doesn't work. But I think Trump also has a little bit of that ability in him as well. Wherever he is, a bodega or a boardroom, he just seems confident and feel at ease. Or when he's sitting there in Detroit in the so-called hood at a black church, while Biden is once again amongst the uber-wealthy white elites. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Observing the difference between the audience that Trump puts himself in front of versus Biden, where Trump puts himself and gets these incredible receptions amongst black neighborhoods, construction workers, law enforcement, while Biden continues to go to these elite fundraisers events that are fueled by celebrities and the uber wealthy. And you see that back and forth. And once again, when you look at, all right, who's really important to these people? Once again, you see that on full display while Joe Biden is holding court with the uber wealthy. Trump is once again out there talking about the working man.
We don't even need the votes. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it quick. No tax on tips. Okay. It's done. Done. And we need to spread the word so that every time you leave a tip for the next 5 months, you put on the receipt, vote for Trump because there's no tax on tips.
All right. So this is a theme that I suspect he is going to continue to some degree, and it's a great idea. Politically speaking, the Biden folks and Biden himself have acknowledged that they're going to raise taxes on Americans if he gets a second term in the White House. This is everybody. These are the tax cuts that were put in place by Trump. They were temporary, and Biden says he will let them expire. Now, as much as they want you, you're going to find out that you're all billionaires, by the way. Because that's what we're told. These tax cuts only were for billionaires. That Trump was passing these billionaire tax cuts. Well, you're going to find out that you apparently, if Joe Biden gets reelected, are a billionaire because your taxes are going to go up. This is also a good way to counter that argument, because while Biden is out there claiming that these are, tax cuts for billionaires, and that's what's going to happen if Trump gets reelected, he's just going to give these billionaires tax cuts, more tax cuts. Meanwhile, the only tax cuts Donald Trump is out there talking about are for servers in the service industry. So again, if you listen to Joe Biden and you work in the service industry, you are, in his opinion, a extremely wealthy individual that deserves to be taxed. Because that's who Donald Trump, that's the only category of people, economically speaking, that Donald Trump has any interest in giving tax cuts to, which, of course, is not true. And if, Trump can... And, some people are going to do this right on those, as he was suggesting at this event over the weekend. Every time you fill that out, vote for Trump, no taxes on tipping. And I suspect that just doing that will be very informative to a lot of people in the service industry who don't necessarily follow politics. Trump edging Biden in 2 blue states that haven't gone with the GOP for president in decades. Polling outfit Decision Desk headquarters released some stunning numbers Friday showing Donald Trump ever so slightly ahead in 2 blue states that went for Biden in the last election, which could spell doom for the president's reelection if they turn on him in November. The survey showed Trump up an ever so tiny 0.2% in Virginia and 1.6% in Minnesota. The Gopher States numbers are not stunning because the former president is so far ahead. 1.6% is a small margin, but because he's even close in a state that Biden won by 7 last time around. It's got to be a good sign for the Trump campaign and an ominous one for the Biden team that Trump is even competitive in the deep blue state where the George Floyd BLM riots originated. At least in that poll, he is competitive. It's not the only poll showing Trump taking Minnesota. Team Trump celebrated another one released by McLaughlin and Associates that show Trump up no matter who else is on the ballot. That poll showed a 4-way ballot excluding RFK Jr. Trump lead increases to 5 points over Biden, with 44 for Trump, 39 for Biden, and a head-to-head Trump and Biden, Trump holding a 2-point advantage over Biden, 47 to 45. A Republican presidential candidate has not carried the state since 1972, 52 years ago when Richard Nixon prevailed. Trump's ground team has been at work trying to change the narrative that he can't win there. And it has, again, been noted that there are no red states that are in danger of flipping to Joe Biden. Every one of these states in which there is talk about it flipping, it is from blue to red, or at least in the context of the presidential election. It's also been noted, I believe there was a discussion on CNN regarding the fact that in states in which Biden is faring poorly, Democrats who are in those states are still faring relatively decently. So Gretchen Whitmer, I think she's up by 8 or 9 percentage points, but Biden is down by 1 or 2 in some of the polling, noting that he is not in any way, shape, or form helpful to any of these people because he is seen as much less popular than a number of the Democrats in these states, which, of course, in turn means that they are not going to want him to come to their states, as some of those individuals are running for re-election. Increasingly, what we see here are Democrats that do not want to be associated with Biden. And that makes it very difficult if one is going to traditionally campaign, if they're going to be out there on the stump. Because if you go to a state like Michigan where you have a governor, Gretchen Whitmer, and you do some sort of an event, generally speaking, the Democrat governor or the governor of whatever the same party is going to want to be at that event. Here they're hosting the president of the United States or the person who's running for president. And the fact that these individuals are in all likelihood not in an event like that going to participate is going to cause a lot of people to see the reality here, and that is that he is not popular even amongst his own party. Now, the caveat here is the fact that he isn't going to be doing any of these rallies, that the events he seems to be focused on are once again these invite-only, uber wealthy elite events that are hosted by Hollywood celebrities, the Stephen Colberts and the Jimmy Kimmels, and the rally president, the president of the people, is Donald Trump, and he is going to be the one to continue to have the opposite effect and impact, where you do have Republicans that are running for re-election desperately want to be seen on stage with him. And it's, yet again, just another stark difference between the two campaigns. Look at the weather coming up here in just a moment. Heat index kicking in, 97 potentially today. First, the latest news. First alert forecast sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt. Sunny today, high near 90. That heat index going to be making its way into the afternoon, high near 97. Mostly clear tonight, 70. Sunny, 86 tomorrow, Wednesday, sunny with a high near 86. KSGF.com, Care to Learn donation drive sponsored by IHOP, serving over 100,000 students in over 40 school districts across America. And also keeping in mind Local for Less Ozarks. That will be coming up on Friday at 10 a.m. Fun Mountain at Big Cedar Lodge. You get half-price $50 gift cards, so for $25 you get $50 worth of play. If you've not been there, you don't have to stay, by the way, at Big Cedar Lodge in order to go to the Fun Mountain part of it. I've been there a couple of times. The girl child went for a birthday once, and you don't have to be staying at Big Cedar Lodge in order to enjoy that. So something to keep in mind. It's a fun facility, especially if you have kids, grandkids. So that'll be coming up in the Local for Less Ozarks section of KSGF.com this Friday at 10 a.m. Streaming live, KSGF.com. YouTube as well. That YouTube video audio feed sponsored by Springfield Wraps. We have scheduled Congressman Burleson to join us. We're trying to connect up with him as soon as we are able to do that. Then we shall go to him. I wanted to note there was this Supreme Court decision that was announced Thursday striking down a Trump-era ban on a firearm accessory known as the bump stock. And I think that the reaction to this is interesting when you put it up against the way that Democrats behave whenever something doesn't go their way, by way of the Supreme Court. So the campaign for former President Donald Trump reacted to the Supreme Court's decision Thursday, striking down the Trump-era ban on a firearm accessory known as the bump stock. Quote, the court has spoken and their decision should be respected. Now, isn't that much different than the Biden approach? If Trump were to take the Biden approach, he would just ignore it and say, and then brag about it. If he returns to the White House. Now, this wouldn't be wise for him politically anyhow, given the Second Amendment enthusiast in this country. But the Biden campaign continues to try to paint the Trump campaign and Donald Trump as having no respect for the rule of law, having no respect for our courts. Meanwhile, when it comes to the Supreme Court, which, by the way, at that event, he was trashing on the Jimmy Kimmel hosted event and calling, the court off kilter, and it's never been this bad ever, so he's calling into the legitimacy of the Supreme Court. But when it comes to rulings and findings and opinions from this court, namely the shifting of people's student loan debt to other people who did not take it out, and the court says, yeah, you can't do that. What was Biden's response? I'm going to do it anyway. You put that side by side with Trump and seeing the bump stock ban ruled as unconstitutional by the courts, and you don't have Trump saying, well, if I get back in the White House, I'm going to just make it illegal anyhow. I don't care. It puts into better focus which of these two individuals have a demonstration for a greater respect for the courts. Congressman Burleson joins us this morning. I appreciate you being with us. I wanted to start off asking about the vote to hold Merrick Garland accountable, this contempt resolution, and then at the same time, you have Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna talking about actually having him arrested, okay. I thought we had Congressman Burleson with us because the line was lit up. Never mind. Well, he hung up anyhow, so. All right. Got derailed there. I apologize. If we do get him on, that's one of the main questions that I want to start off asking Congressman Burleson on that. We played it earlier, and it was from Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo. And, of course, the Department of Justice says, hey, Garland, no one's above the law. Well, not really. And so they are not going to hold him accountable for refusing to turn that information over. But what you have is Congresswoman Luna saying that, in noting that she introduced a resolution for something called inherent contempt of Congress, that Congress has the authority to do and hasn't been done since the early 1900s. And what it does, she says, is that it allows the sergeant at arms to go and get Garland as well as the tapes, bring them to the well of the House, and really be a check and balance on the Department of Justice. And so I suspect that Republican leadership will prevent that from occurring because of the standard Republican fear of being accused of doing all sorts of horrible things. But it is something that I suspect that, she does not sound like she's backing down on this. And I imagine there are going to be a number of other Republicans that say, listen, we have got to start holding these people accountable. The reason, at least one of the reasons, that they continue to have absolutely no respect for the rule of law is because no one forces them to respect the rule of law. These votes of contempt are meaningless. If anything, they wear it as a bit of a badge, or I don't even know that they do that in as much as they just mock the idea. They see Republicans holding, whether it's Garland or others in contempt of Congress, as just annoying little gnats that are flying around that think that they're doing something meaningful when ultimately they actually aren't doing anything meaningful. And they have absolutely no respect whatsoever for Republicans or for what it means, if anything, to be held in contempt of Congress. And until these individuals face real meaningful repercussions that they earn, They are going to continue to behave in this manner in which they are above the law. They are immune from any sort of accountability, and they can continue to use the FBI, the CIA, the Department of Justice as the sword and shield of the Democrat Party. Springfield's Talk 1041, streaming live, KSGF.com. Coming up, a Texas Democrat candidate charged with faking racist comments to himself. This is a Jesse Smollett-style situation that oftentimes occurs, and it's where you have an individual, this time an elected or somebody that wants to be an elected official, faking hate mail and hate comments, falsely accusing a phantom supporter of Republicans of doing it, and it being investigated and determined that in the style of Jesse Smollett, it was actually the individual that was doing it to himself. Springfield's Talk 1041, I'm Nick Reed. Purchasing a new home or selling your home is not only a big deal of great significance, it usually means some sort of life change is occurring, be it just the need for more room or less room, or maybe you are moving out of the area or you want to get out of a certain area and move into another because of schools, because of taxes, because of crime, whatever it is. It's generally a pretty important decision. You're talking about a lot of money as well, but the process itself can be ever so stressful, particularly if it's not something that you're accustomed to. So you're going to sell your home, and then all of a sudden you're hit with a list of things that you need to do in order to sell the home from the buyers, the buyers. Like, well, you need this done, that done, and then you're looking at all of a sudden $15,000 in repairs that you were not planning for. So how do you deal with that? This is where, excuse me, you need Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. For all of your home buying needs, your home selling needs, she is there in your corner to help navigate you through all of those things. And she can even, some of the comments you read from people who have utilized her, that she has set up much of that stuff at times for her clients. So if you want to be in the best hands possible when it comes to buying your home, selling your home, or maybe doing it at the same time, you got to sell yours in order for the contract to go through of the one you want to buy, you want Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. A Texas political candidate has been arrested on charges of sending fake hate messages to himself on social media. Terrell Patel, the Democratic candidate for Fort Bend Precinct 3 commissioner, was arrested by Texas Rangers and is being charged with online impersonation and misrepresentation of identity. Authorities allege that Patel spent months sending a stream of racist and derogatory comments to himself, impersonating a supporter of incumbent Republican Commissioner Andy Myers. According to the arrest record for Patel, the investigation was launched in October of 23 after Myers requested authorities look into who was responsible for the comments made at Patel. Patel previously posted a collage of hateful comments ostensibly sent by Myers' supporters, claiming that the message represented a, quote, deep and misguided fear among the Republican Party. Patel said in the September 2023 post on Facebook, as your Democratic candidate for county commissioner, I'm always open to criticism of my policy, positions, and stances on issue. However, when my Republican opponent supporters decide to hurl racist, anti-immigrant, Hindu-phobic, and that's a new one, I've not heard Hindu-phobic before, or otherwise disgusting insults at my family, faith community, colleagues, and me, that crosses the line. Law enforcement reported that Patel used an image of a real Fort Bend resident as his profile picture without the individual's consent. Fort Bend County Republican Party Chairman Bobby Eberly released a statement reacting to Patel's arrest, calling the situation deeply concerning, quote, whether Republican or Democrat. Such tactics should be unequivocally condemned by all who value integrity and accountability in politics. This is not a partisan issue, and the good people of Fort Bend County should be able to trust that when allegations are made, they are sincere. He concluded Fort Bend County residents deserve better leadership than someone who will create a fake account and post manufactured racist attacks attempting to turn neighbor against neighbor for political gain. This isn't an isolated incident, and it's not always elected officials. In fact, so often you will see this sort of thing with college students, or you will see these instances go viral where somebody is working as a server and claims that, this horrific homophobic thing was written on a tip line. And then, of course, it turned out that there was no such thing, that it was the person themselves. More often than not, these stories that end up going viral in which somebody claims to be the victim of homophobia or transphobia or any of these other horrific things that we're told come from the right wing, it turns out that they did it themselves. And one of the reasons that this occurs is because, one, the media will jump on a story if it fits a narrative and report it as if it's true. We've seen it happen right here. It's happened in Springfield. One of the more notable instances was there was a gal who I believe was a legal immigrant here to the United States, and she was out jogging somewhere and claimed that when she came back, that there was feces smeared on her vehicle. I think it was a Jeep. And the entire thing was painted as racism. No questions asked. It was clearly the act of racism, and then, of course, it turned out that it had nothing whatsoever to do with race, but instead it was a mistaken identity. The individual who did it was somebody that thought that that vehicle was belonging to somebody else that he had a grudge with, and so that's what it was. You could go down the list of instances this occurs. There was a woman who several years ago in Springfield, there was a story because a swastika, I think it was, painted or chalked on her garage door or somewhere. And there was an entire story based around the fact that clearly these are neo-Nazis, these are racist. And it turns out that was one of her grandkids' friends, and they were goofing around pranking each other. This rewarding of allegations without any sort of fact-checking, without any sort of questioning, feeds into these fake stories. And then the second reason that these stories are as prevalent as they are is because the people are never held accountable. Now, this guy, we're talking about Texas here, and apparently he has been arrested and he is going to be held accountable, presumably. What that looks like, if we're talking about actual jail time, prison time, community service, it needs to be something that sends a message that this sort of thing will not be rewarded. And if you do it, you have more to lose than to gain. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. Latest traffic update. First Alert Forecast, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals from Color 10 Fox. 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt. Sunny, high near 90 today. Heat index as high as 97. 74 low tonight. Sunny 86 tomorrow. And same for Wednesday. Sunny with a high near 86. Congressman Burleson joins us this morning. And thank you for being with us. I want to ask about the contempt resolution for Garland, and then Republican Florida Representative Anna Paulina Luna talking about this. What did she call it? Well, it's essentially the ability to send Sergeant at Arms to go and get him and those tapes, bring them to the well of the House. And it's inherent contempt of Congress. She said it hasn't been used since the early 1900s. But your thoughts on the contempt, on Garland's response, and her assertion that this is something that could be done?
Well, I applaud Anna. I think that's the kind of creative action that we're not seeing out of leadership, and it's great to see she's coming up with that. I know that we're trying to do something similar, not similar to that, but something that's where we're trying to reach back to something that hasn't been done since the 50s and just try to fight back. I mean, but yeah, Merrick Garland deserves it. He's blatantly withheld information from Congress. He's absolutely abusing his power, and I'm just shocked that we continue to just let them walk all over us and we don't do anything about it. I think it just makes. I feel like we continue to bring a knife to a gunfight.
Well, and I don't know that some of the leadership or any of the leadership understands what that does to so many of our perceptions of what goes on in Washington. And frankly, I don't think that there are a lot of people that are surprised by this. I think that a lot of particularly Republican voters or Trump supporters think, oh, well, here we go again. They just do whatever they want. And then there is potentially here a remedy in order to make some meaningful accountability come into play. But I think that most Republican voters in particular, they think, they won't do it. And it just, there's two people in this dance party. There's the Democrats that continue to have this hierarchy, if you will, this dual justice system, do as I say, not as I do. And then there are the Republicans that, when people at least perceive that Republicans have mechanisms to hold them accountable, don't hold them accountable. And so it just causes a lot of us to go, well, what's the point? I mean, no wonder they behave this way. They've been created this way.
Yeah, I'm frustrated too. It's extremely frustrating that we have at least one branch of Congress, and we continue to just be weak sauce. We continue to I mean, look, Joe Biden can barely make it upstairs, and yet somehow
right.
we can't out negotiate him. He somehow is able to be more masterful in negotiations. Our speaker walks in to a negotiation on the debt and walks out spending more money than we ever thought. The speaker walks in negotiating to fix the border, or no money for Ukraine, and we get no border and all the money for Ukraine. So I am frustrated too.
Yeah.
And the one thing I have hope in is that I think that courage can be contagious. I think that Donald Trump is extremely courageous, and I think that he's probably gone through this fire, this experience. And if there's a silver lining to it, is that he's not going to do things conventionally. He's going to want to go. He's going to want to do big things, and I think that Congress, most of the members of Congress, there's one thing everybody's united on: it's that they support Donald Trump. And so unlike it was when he took the office in 2016. I don't think Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell supported Trump at all, but I do think that this Congress is going to support him.
Well, let's talk about that. We've got Congressman Burleson with us. He making up to Capitol Hill, having powwow, if you will, with you folks, and I get the sense that that's the energy there. Trump, he's come out and said we're all united, but I think people tend to expect the leader of a party to say that, to put on that face, whether it is accurate or not. It sounds as if, at least compared to what we were dealing with in 2016, that definitely does appear to be that there is a greater degree of unity. Is that what I'm understanding?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's got people that have been loyal to him. He knows who has been loyal to him over the last 4 years, and during all the trials and things that he's gone through. There was no one. There was very few members of Congress, very few politicians that backed Trump. Most of them were backing other candidates, and then they were shocked when Trump won, but then they kind of joined in with a lot of them joined in with the media, and joined with the swamp. And there will be some of those in when Trump comes back, but I think it'll be so many fewer, and they will be exposed. They will be the ones that are exposed. The one thing I have a little bit of concern about is that Trump is not your conventional conservative.
Right.
He's a little bit more pragmatic, and sometimes I find it that he's trying to make incremental motions towards conservatives. And so, for example, when it comes to the pro-life issue, what his strategy is his position might save more babies, and that's, in his mind, that's what it's all about, is that, but that position may not be one that, like, morally, for me, I can square up with directly. Does that make sense?
Right.
And so it becomes a wrestling. It becomes a mental wrestle to probably an ethical wrestling match for anyone mentally. Like, it's going to be a very interesting dynamic.
We're talking with Congressman Burleson. I continue, as I'm sure you do, you see the media try, and some in the media are recognizing that Biden is slipping, and more so recognizing that citizens, that voters are seeing that. But you still have this attempt to portray all of these viral videos, all of his behavior, as something that's been created, that it's, I heard the White House use the term cheap fake instead of deep fake, suggesting that these videos have been edited in a way to make it look as if Joe Biden is having issues, when in fact he's no different than Donald Trump. I mean, it's just so absurd. It is. I just keep thinking the emperor has no clothes. This reality that we're supposed to be living in, where we all know what's going on. It's just a matter of to what degree. But you still have a media and the administration trying to tell us that there's no difference in the cognitive ability of Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. It's just so surreal, don't you think?
Oh, it is. And I think that, for example, Trump recently had a flub and just closely mispronouncing his former physician's name. Well, I'll be honest. Like, when you're in politics and you meet so many people, it becomes more and more difficult to remember people's names, and so he got it extremely close, and and yet they're all over him.
Oh yeah.
So they're gonna, anything that Trump does that is a little bit of a mistake, they're going to go pour all in on it and say, oh, look, well, first of all, he could pronounce the guy's name. Okay. he could actually form the consonants in his mouth. Let's make it very clear. There's already a difference there, and so we're not talking about normal things that most people would mistakes most people would make. Everybody sees that Joe Biden is losing it. Matt Gaetz said there's a little off his fastball. Clearly, he's not the same guy.
Yeah.
And the Democrats keep denying that, and I think that they're going to get to the convention, and there's going to be a crisis at that point because the polls just continue to turn south for him, and I think that there's going to be a freak-out moment.
Well, back to we were talking earlier about Florida Rep. Anna Paulina Luna, and she was asked yesterday if she thought, because she suggested she thought Biden may not be the one to get the nomination, and so she was asked specifically, is that your contention? And she said, if the her tapes come out, then yeah, I do not. I think that they are going to be so damaging to him that he will not get the nomination. I happen to think potentially one of the reasons that they arrange for the debate between Trump and Biden to take place this far in advance, which is somewhat unusual, is almost as a last-ditch effort to really make a determination, okay, do we want to move forward with this guy if he manages to claw his way through it, or just not do something that is a real obvious problem? Then they can, potentially say, okay, I think we can make it across the finish line with this guy. Or if he does tank himself, then that will sort of help them help them make the decision. Like, okay, it's clear, we've got to do something different. But it's just amazing that this is openly being talked about to the degree that it is, as to whether or not he's even going to be given the nomination by the Democrats.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation. I think that you might be right there, that they specifically chose to have the debate early. I think that makes sense.
Well, I just haven't heard any other reason for that. No one's presented anything else that really made any sense why to have it so far in advance and have it before, because you're talking their convention's going to be 2 months or a month, and a half later. It's mid-August, right? And here just next week, I think it is, the debate's going to be taking the 27th. So you're talking over a month out, and it's just the only thing that makes sense to me as to why you would do that. We're talking with Congressman Burleson. Someone had texted in and they want to know your thoughts on what I know Town Hall is reporting that Biden is set to announce the largest relief program for millions of illegal immigrants, supposedly today at some point, that a new amnesty plan that would allow illegal immigrants to obtain legal status if they're married to U.S. citizens. Have you heard any details on this, and what are your thoughts?
I haven't heard the details on that, but I'm opposed to these kind of loopholes for people to get through the system. I even don't support the someone who is born here just because their parents stepped over the line.
Right.
I don't believe that you're just because you were born on this side of the border by parents who are here legally, here illegally, doesn't make you a U.S. citizen. Yeah. I certainly don't think that we should allow for marriage to be used, particularly when it's used as a loophole to make someone a citizen.
Congressman Burleson, anything else on your radar this week?
So today I'm dropping a bill that is going to be declaring the January 6th committee to be an unconstitutional committee. It was a violation of the rules. The subpoenas that were submitted were in violation of the rules, and therefore they should be declared null and void. And that the contempt of Congress charges against Mark Meadows, Gavino, Steve Bannon, and Navarro should be considered rescinded. And so I will be dropping that. There's a lot of co-sponsors that have Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, you name it. A lot of the people who are fighting for this country are on co-sponsoring it with me. And so look for that today.
All right, Congressman Burleson, thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you, Nick.
All right, you bet.
Take care.
All right, you do the same. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. Streaming live, KSGF.com, YouTube, sponsored by Springfield Wraps. A1 Custom Car Care, part of the Care to Learn donation drive this year, serving over 100,000 students in over 40 school districts across Missouri. They, along with some of our other partners, helping out in that capacity, so you can get that information at ksgf.com. And also, Fun Mountain at Big Cedar Lodge. This is going to be the Local for Less this Friday at 10 a.m. Half price, $50 gift card. So for $25, get $50 worth. That's, essentially like $25 worth free of gameplay. That will be at 10 o'clock on Friday morning, again at ksgf.com in the Local for Less section. Hunter Biden dropping the lawsuit against former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani that accused him of manipulating data found on the First Son's laptop. This was all part of, first it was a Russian hoax, and then it wasn't a Russian hoax, and it was that Rudy Giuliani was some sort of tech whiz mastermind that was manipulating data found on the First Son's laptop. And so this was the accusation. This lawsuit has been dropped. Hunter's attorney filed the stipulation for dismissing the case Thursday in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York, requesting the lawsuit be dismissed, quote, without prejudice, with each party bearing its own attorney's fees, costs, and expenses, according to the New York Post. Documents show attorneys for the various parties have agreed to the term. The lawsuit, originally brought by Hunter Biden, claimed that Giuliani and attorney Robert Costello violated the Federal Computer Fraud and Abuse Act and manipulated data on the infamous laptop from hell. The lawsuit sought $75,000 in damages and payments for attorney's fees. Quote, Giuliani's attorney says, this dismissal, along with Hunter Biden's conviction based on evidence taken from the laptop, is a vindication for Mr. Giuliani and Mr. Costello, as well as all of the media outlets who broke the laptop story in 2020, suffered orchestrated censorship by social media, the leftist mainstream media, and others who engaged in election interference. Which, of course, when you recognize that that was the whole purpose behind this, puts on display yet again the hierarchy of lawfare in this country, because if you recall, that was the component of the allegations against Donald Trump that we were told made it all so serious. It wasn't that he made, allegedly, payments to Stormy Daniels, but that the reason for doing it was to alter the outcome of the election by hiding information. And we now know, and we have known for some time, that's exactly what these former and current intelligence agencies folks did at the behest of Anthony Blinken, who at the time was instrumental in the Biden campaign. It was to suppress information in order to help Joe Biden become elected president. And that information, of course, was the laptop. And so when you look at the rationale behind getting Trump and saying that he deserves to spend potentially the rest of his life in prison, it was because he was accused of trying to prevent information from being out there in the world for the purposes of helping increase his chances of getting elected president. Same exact thing. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. Door knockers, they are out and about right now, and oftentimes they will underbid jobs, and then they will make you sign a contingency agreement. That is how you know they don't have your best interest in mind, because once you sign that agreement, they are nearly impossible to get out of. And then they cut corners. They reuse products, they don't do upgrades, and they don't use ice and water shield, which can actually add years of life to your roof. So that is why I want to recommend the best of the best, and that is Josh with the Pyramid Roofing Company. They're not going to lie to you. They're not going to use scare tactics on you, and they are not going to cut corners. So if you have roof damage, or you think you have roof damage, go ahead and give Josh and the Pyramid Roofing Company team a call today and schedule that free roof inspection. You can find all of that contact information under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
All right, don't forget, we just have 2 weeks left for you to get signed up for the Great Escape. The deadline is July 1st. Go back and listen to the podcast, 7 o'clock hour. We talked more detail about it. Otherwise, we will talk with you tomorrow. I'm Nick Reed.